seeing you. Okay, awesome. Well, it's 7, so let's just get started. We'll let people trickle in as they go. We are going to have, time permitting, we will have time for questions at the end. So, if you need to say something in the chat, feel free, but we're probably going to be saving most questions until the end. So let's go ahead and get started. I am Dr. Michelle Stanton.
Hey, Dr. George Stanton.
And we are with Prairie Sage, and we are really excited to be talking to this group of people about alternatives to very popular weight loss injections and weight loss drugs.
Yeah, there's a lot of misconceptions just about metabolic health and weight, and we'll go over some of those today and some of the implications we see with Ozempic and some of these GLP-1 type drugs as well.
Yeah. So if you're comfortable, and feel free to not answer this, but if you want to share maybe some things that you've tried in the past, if you have gone on like a weight loss journey, some things you've tried that maybe haven't worked, we'd love to hear that from you. You can go ahead and pop that in the chat. And I don't know where to put this dang chat at.
Maybe up.
Well, that's not in the chat. That's just participants. So where's our chat? I got my chat over here. We're working with a lot of screens. Okay. I think we'll just go with this over here.
So yeah, just you can let us know in the chat.
Yeah, over the years I've tried almost everything. So yeah, and that you are not alone. That a lot of people do, especially in the information age where we can get, we can get any information we want. It's wading through the good information or the bad. So that can be really tricky.
Yeah, cool.
Okay, okay, metformin.
Just have a good place for this.
Okay, haven't tried weight loss drugs, Weight Watchers, yeah. Journaling, everything you eat, yes, not sustainable. I agree. That's a tough thing to be doing.
Some of my type A's can do that, but
not everybody's a type A, am I right?
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay.
So yeah, part of this too is we're trying to teach to have like a longer health span and not just a lifespan. So we want you to be healthy for longer and not just to live longer. So we want to have a better quality of life. And so yeah, we'll kind of teach you a 5-step process here. Without any pills, planks, or poking yourself. So to effectively lose some weight here.
All right, well, let's get going because we want to make sure that we can get through everything that we want to get to. So you've already told us, what you've done to try to lose weight. If you feel free to let us know where you're from. We know a lot of you are from the Kansas area anyway. So, and if you have any pressing questions, I think, yeah, keeping those to the end because we want to make sure we get those. But as we get talking, it's gonna be hard to keep up with the chat. So we don't want to lose those.
We'll probably answer a lot of your questions too as we go.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of keep checking in on the chat. And if you have some pressing things, just let us know. We'll keep an eye on it. Yeah, where you're from, what have you tried? Any pressing questions? Yeah, Atkins.
Yeah, and then we've seen people losing and gaining weight back, and we are definitely going to be touching on that. You can rest assured that is something that happens. But let us introduce ourselves a little bit, and then we'll kind of get into it.
Yeah, so I'm Dr. George, like I said, husband and father here. So co-founder of Prairie Sage. We've been here, this is our 9th year here in Southwest Kansas. We've been doing functional medicine the whole time. We're doctors of chiropractic. I like to do a lot of sports, a lot of CrossFit. I'm super competitive, and I love being outside.
Yep, and I am Dr. Michelle Stanton, Dr. George's wife. I'm a wife and a mom, also a co-founder of Prairie Sage, so we get to practice together, practice functional medicine, and I have a big game talk. So I like to affectionately think of myself as a cheerleader, but sometimes it can come off as I talk a big game and can't always back it up. But I gotta be able to keep up with this guy. So I love to travel. We love to travel. We don't travel quite the same as we used to before we had kids, but we still like to get out into the world and experience it. Okay, so to get the most out of today, you should have all received a workbook in the reminder emails. It's not required, but you can definitely either download that, print it if you haven't, if you'd like, or you can just kind of go through it. It just has some notes that you can follow up on. take notes, ask questions, and then stay until the end, because we do have a gift that we're going to be sending out a link to, but we want to make sure that you can get that. So stay until the end so we can get that to you.
Yeah, the weight regain, we're going to talk a lot about that. Keto, yeah, that's another popular diet. Yeah, we'll touch on some of those diets as well. I've been dieting a month and the cats shed more than I have.
I'm sure a lot of us can relate. You know, a lot of wives can watch their husbands do this, that, and the other and lose twice the amount of weight as we do. I know we don't just have women on this call, but I know just the differences between men and women can be very frustrating to one particular gender. So that's, or cats versus humans too. So here's what you're going to learn today. We're going to be going over, like Dr. George said, a 5-step process just to help you lose weight, lose it effectively and safely without having to use pills, without having to do crazy exercise routines, without just killing yourself and doing anything essentially unnatural that we're not designed to do.
Right. And we just want to kind of take a step back. Exercise really important. But when we start, depending on how much weight you have to lose and how fast you want to lose it, we'll talk about these touch points. But do you want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
We'll talk about how, yeah, Sheila here, lost 23 pounds in 6 weeks.
Yeah, so some of the tools that we use in our practice, we have different programs, we have different procedures that we use, and one of the programs that we use is called the Living Light program. And what we're talking about tonight is a snippet of that. So it's a portion of it. And then of course you can always get bigger within the actual program itself. But these are a few reviews from people that have done this program, the bigger program, and have had really great success, again, without using drugs, without the dangers of this kind of yo-yo with your metabolism and your weight gain and regain. And
our goal for you too is to be long-term. We want this to be long-term. We don't want it to be a short-term and then regain your weight back.
Yes, exactly. We want it to be effective weight loss. Yeah, so happy to say they've not only losing pounds, but losing inches, because we know everything isn't just about the number on the scale. So we want to be
and they're no longer sore, their gait is better, their blood pressure is lower. So like looking at if you're on medications, sometimes they're needed, but sometimes our lifestyle factors can have a big effect on that. So
yeah,
sleeping better, less pain, some of the things that we're experiencing, some of the things our patients are experiencing.
Well, yeah, and you'll find, and you probably know this, but as you get healthier, the people around you are going to benefit as well. This particular individual snored less, and their partner is going to benefit from that. And if anybody can relate to a partner snoring, that can be very detrimental to everyone in the household. So it's going to be good for not only you, but for the people that you're around most often.
Oops, sorry.
Okay, we're fighting over mouses over here. All right, so just some more stories of successes, people feeling better, losing weight in a healthy way, and not only the weight loss, but some of the other health benefits that they've experienced. I don't know if you want to talk about any of these specifically, but I'm just kind of going through.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Let's see. I see what's happening.
Yes.
Okay. So, yep, just working through it. Yes. So you are in the right place if you are perimenopausal or menopausal and you're looking to lose these 10 to 30 pounds that often people find are really stubborn, those last 10 to 30 pounds. You're also in the right place if you're perimenopausal or menopausal and you're having difficulty with getting good quality sleep. So we talked about, this is not just about weight loss. That is a great benefit, but there's so much more to it. Having joint pains, high blood pressure, digestive issues. You're ready to essentially just get back to being a very productive person in society, in your family, and in your home. You're ready to have that energy throughout the day again.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just females too, like our guys, we can have a lot of benefits from this as well. And so you've tried everything and it just hasn't worked. We've heard that one quite often.
Yeah. And then, far from menopause. So not everyone on here, A, is a female. B, not everyone is, going through perimenopause or menopause, but you are still in the right place because you are going to be learning 5 steps to help you either eventually get into menopause and perimenopause in a smoother transition. But also, you know, we're going to be teaching you lifelong skills that any gender, any age can benefit from.
And we've heard this, like, you're too young to feel this old. Everyone's kind of probably experienced that a little bit, but a lot of times you're right. A lot of times you're right.
Yeah.
You shouldn't feel like this.
Yeah, we shouldn't write off feeling so crummy just to old age. I think that's unfair.
Your body's intelligent. It's giving you signs that something is abnormal.
Yeah. So I guess our point is you are in the right place, because we know most people are experiencing something, you know, something that we've talked about. You can live you're ready to get rid of symptoms so you can live a long, healthy life, a meaningful life. You can contribute to your family, to your job, to, you know, the people around you, and you're ready to move into the next phase of life, whatever that is. So we got
whatever
you.
your reason, we got you. I'm
All right.
happy to see you guys here. A lot of fun people from around, mostly Southwest Kansas, which is where we are.
Yeah.
So the doctor of the future is the patient. So really, you are your biggest advocate with this. Nothing can fix your body better than your body. Your body has an innate intelligence if you give it the right tools and the right things.
Mhm.
So the health starts at home. And we're going to try to teach you skills over taking a bunch of pills.
Mhm.
So that can go a very long way.
Yep. All right, so our promise to you is we're going to go over this 5-step framework like we talked about. It's specifically designed to kickstart that weight loss. We want you to start getting better sleep, have more energy, and again, without using pills, injections, or crazy intense exercise.
So let's talk about the elephant in the room.
Probably a lot of you are here to hear about Ozempic, or maybe why it's maybe not the best option.
Yeah. So a lot. So this is very common in the field, in the medicine field. Everyone's really searching for the safest, most natural options. And really Ozempic probably just isn't that. And really any GLP-1, there are some benefits to it, but as we'll find out, there are some complications as well. And we see this with a lot of medications just throughout the years. They come out like touting all these big things, and then like 10 years later there's lawsuits because of these things that it was supposed to do and are now their side effects. And so we really want to be careful when we go into some of these things. Is weight loss huge? Yes, but as we'll see, there's some complications with it. So let's talk about a couple of the complications here. With Ozempic and some of the GLP-1s, suicidal thoughts. There's some case studies coming out with depression and suicidal thoughts on this medication for longer than 3 months, I think it was. Constipation, diarrhea, pretty common. Pancreatitis, we actually had somebody message us about that one. And I think it was either them or their husband had pancreatitis from that. So these things, these side effects are very real in the Ozempic realm here.
Yeah, so we're gonna watch this and hope it actually works, because who even knows? I don't know. Okay, hope you can see this.
Oh.
But can you hear it?
Pounds of fat a person was losing on these drugs, they were losing 4 pounds of fat-free mass or lean mass. So 40% of the weight they were losing on these drugs is coming from lean mass, including muscle and bone. So there are now case reports of young, healthy women who are overweight, who go on the drug for some period of time, and after they get diagnosed with osteoporosis, where they have eroded their bone health, they're losing lean mass. And when you take enough of that drug that you just have no more hunger because of how it's acting your brain, you do just stop eating, and the malnutrition, at least in part, is going to cause a loss of lean mass. There was a paper recently published with the use of these drugs finding that people, when they begin the drug, their risk of suicidal thoughts doubles. It goes up by over 100%, and their risk of major depression triples. What it's doing is reducing your craving for everything. That while you are eating less food, which is resulting in the weight loss, you also are not interested as much in exercise as you used to be, which is going to make it even easier for you to lose your muscle and bone. You're also less interested in hobbies like going to play pickleball with your friends or going out and drinking with the boys. They found that for every 6 pounds of fat a person was losing on these drugs, they were losing 4 pounds of fat-free mass or lean.
Okay. So yeah, not only are we seeing trouble or issues with weight regain, but we're also seeing that as people lose weight, they're not just losing fat mass, they're losing lean muscle mass and bone mass. So you're coming out of it already going into, if you're a female, going into a time of life that you're set up to be more prone to osteoporosis or decreased bone density, and you're getting set up for that even worse.
Yeah, and so when you lose a lot of fat mass and lean muscle mass, and then you're gaining this back, it's going to be a lot of just fat mass and without the lean muscle. And so you're losing a bunch of both, but gaining only fat mass back. And so that's going to be super detrimental in the long term. So just keep that in mind as well as we go through this. You can, and so Ozempic, usually about 12 months, a lot of people, 3 months, even 3 months to 12 months. Journo, I think I saw that in the chat as well, 6 to 9 months. Metformin, I saw that in the chat as well, 3 years and that's to get 10 to 15% of the body weight. And our clients are doing it in 6 to 10 weeks.
With natural methods, with sustainable methods, a lot of them are just simply lifestyle changes and shifts. And so we know that your body is not going to negatively respond to things that it can naturally do on its own, balancing the circadian rhythm, balancing different hormones, shifting the way that you feed your body, your brain, your mindset. So lots of tools that can be even more effective in a shorter period of time. So some things about Ozempic. So, we just heard this guy talking about it, but then when it comes to the rapid weight loss that Ozempic provides,
so
talk about that.
Yeah, as we go through this, and this is kind of the complications that we don't have the studies yet, but what we can do is look at things with rapid weight loss as far as like gastric bypass, for example, and see what some of the complications are that we might be running into. So what we're finding is when we lose a lot of that adipose tissue, there's toxins within the fat tissue. Those toxins are going into your system and they're not coming out. And so they've done studies of this a year later, and these endotoxins and the POPs, the organic pollutants, are still elevated in the blood 12 months even after. And so they're still circulating. And so what happens is instead of going into fat tissue, now it's going to be looking, your body wants to store them somewhere. So it's going to be looking at organs. So that's kind of the danger we're looking at some of these organochlorine pesticides with rapid weight loss like that.
Yeah, so we see the dioxins, the polychlorinated biphenyls in the obese subjects just before and after drastic weight loss, and we're seeing those serum concentrations, like Dr. George said, increase over 6 to 12 months after that weight loss. And so that's where we start seeing a lot of these organ issues or these systemic issues coming from patients that should be healthy because they lost a lot of weight, but they continue to have health issues. And this is a big reason why.
Right. And so chronic disease, think about chronic disease. They're having chronic disease. So biphenyls, these BPA plastics, all these things, they're finding it in the blood at an elevated rate after some of these surgeries. Yeah, scroll over a little bit.
Okay, so this was kind of, it was kind of fun to find. I don't know if fun is the right word, but we were just looking at like, let's see what kind of just like the average person that may be doing some deeper dives and research into Ozempic would be finding. So we went to drugs.com. It's a good resource. And this says what happens when you stop taking Ozempic. And so it's saying here, much of the weight that you've lost will most likely return once you're done with it. So unless you're committed to taking Ozempic or some of these other injections or diet pills for life, you're likely to gain that weight back. And then you to avoid that, the doctors recommend that you maintain your exercise and diet plan.
You guys,
just do that.
Let's just start with that in the first place. Let's help you change your habits, change your lifestyle to be more sustainable long term.
Yes.
That's how you make it long term.
And so we mean diet like eat good food and fuel yourself, not diet how we know it. Diet is kind of like a dirty word these days.
Yeah.
We just mean your nutrition.
Yeah, and just taking it outside your nutrition, like we'll talk about in these 5 steps, like there's a lot more than just the food you're eating that's involved in your lifestyle.
Yeah, we look at diet or nutrition as a tool. We want to use as many tools in our tool belt to help us heal, to thrive, to not only lose weight, but some of these other things we talked about, feel better, have better energy, regulate your hormones, contribute to your family. So diet is important, yes, but there's more to it.
Yeah, we talked about this. So the weight gains accompanied by accumulation of fat and less muscle because you're losing lean mass and fat tissue. And then when you regain it, it's fat mass. So that long term, you're going to be more at risk, for these chronic diseases.
Yeah, so we say with great weight loss comes great responsibility. And that's because we want to lose weight in an effective way, but in a healthy and a safe way. So one thing that we mentioned was the timeline on the program that we use is very rapid. I mean, 6 to 10 weeks to lose 15 to 30 pounds, that's a pretty moving at a pretty good click. And we just talked about, hey, well, this is what happens when you lose weight rapidly, but when you do it in a safe way, when you do it in a natural way, your body has mechanisms to help you manage that toxic load.
And within some of the program stuff too is we expect some of that stuff to happen. So we tailor it to that happening and help your body get rid of some of those things.
Exactly. You have to take that into account. And a lot of these drugs and drug companies are not. Okay, so we just know, the cost of Ozempic is the United States is an interesting country, isn't it? Much more expensive in our country than it is in other countries, but we know it comes at much more than just the cost of what comes out of our wallets or our credit cards. It comes at the cost of our health.
So yeah, just the cost over a 12-month period, and then metformin, and really there's a lot of side effects we could go into on metformin as well. And then the program that we have, and you're in a smaller area. And the thing I love about Living Light is that you have that forever. You can reuse it, you can redo it, you can, if you fall off the wagon, you can get back on the wagon. Like you have that information forever. All right, let's talk about some hormones.
Yeah, let's talk about hormones. So the ladies in here specifically, but we know that men also have hormones. But just to talk a little bit about perimenopause and menopause, because I know that's just a really important topic to a lot of the women that have jumped on today. So menopause is officially when you have gone a year without a period, and once you've reached this, you're postmenopausal. So that, there's kind of like a perimenopausal, menopausal.
So perimenopausal, menopause. So what we're seeing is like the trend of your hormones and what they're doing. So perimenopause, lower progesterone, estrogen is increasing, and then menopause, everything kind of takes a tank.
Yeah. So basically, like once we hit like this later 30s years, 37, and you have symptoms such as new or increased premenstrual mood swings, new or markedly increased migraine headaches is a big one. Kind of weird sleep-wake cycles or just poor sleep in general, shorter menstrual cycles, new onset of heavy or longer flows. So changes to the cycles, changes to how you're feeling, and you're maybe 37, 38, and hey, I'm right there with you. So this is not me beating up on anybody. There's a chance that you are, we're getting there. Maybe we're not quite to the train station, but we're starting to see the train station ahead and we're going to be pulling in. But we had a really great mentor that said at one point that you can look at menopause like a train flying at the tracks. And if your train is coming in like this, because everything in your body is going crazy and your hormones are going crazy, what do you think it's going to do when it lands on that track? It's going to crash and burn, and menopause is going to be terrible. But what we want to do is help you manage blood sugar, insulin, cortisol, all these things systemically. So when you do land on those train tracks and you pull into the menopause station, things go nice and smooth for you.
And if you're already there, that's okay too. We can.
There's plenty, if you've gone through it and it was great for you, or it was a train wreck, there is still work to be done and there's still ways to support you. Certainly.
Yeah, so progesterone starts to decline, and that destabilizes our HP axis. This is really important. So our hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis. So your stress response system. So that causes cortisol to increase. And if you've watched any of our videos before, we talk a ton about cortisol, and that's like the weight around the belly, right? Cortisol. And when cortisol increases, your blood sugar increases. So that means insulin increases. And that just leads into inflammation. And so this is a very detrimental cycle to be in.
Yeah, isn't it great to be a lady? So going into
Happens in guys too.
it is true.
Just not with the estrogen.
Yeah, and it's not talked about as much, so it's probably even harder on them in some ways. But initially estrogen levels will increase, and actually estrogen is responsible for insulin sensitivity. So estrogen helps us be at, well, estrogen acts also as a natural appetite suppressant. So because of these changes in the hormones, we start to see that weight gain around the belly, known as visceral fat. And visceral fat can be a lot more detrimental than like the fat that we can see like when we put a bikini on, because visceral fat is what accumulates around your organs. And that is what can lead to the cardiovascular disease, the liver disease, stroke, the risk of stroke. And then we just see that holding on unless we can do something about it.
Yeah, and this is where we want to try to be preventative in our medicine. So if you're taking care of this while you're in your 30s and 40s, then it's going to make your 50s and 60s and 70s and hopefully 80s go a little bit smoother. So we're trying to be that health span, that you want your span to be healthy and not riddled with all these chronic issues.
Yes, but it's never too late to start.
It's never too late to start.
So also going through perimenopause and menopause, your muscle mass starts to decrease and so that's another reason why we don't want to help that process along. About 1% every year starting around the age of 40. It's going to be a little bit different depending on genetics and things like that. But muscle is very useful to us because it is a sponge for excess sugar. And so that's why it's so important to have this lean muscle mass. That's why we really encourage women in particular who maybe shy away from the weight training at the gym to be doing some weight training, because we need to develop that lean muscle mass so it can do many things, among them help us regulate our blood sugar.
Right. And sugar can go into your cell. When you exercise, sugar can go into your cell independent. So without the use of insulin. That's why exercise is awesome. And so what we don't recommend it doing like our rapid weight loss within the living light during that release kind of phase. We do recommend it lifelong, basically. So not in the moment, but yeah, we'll get into the whys.
The exercise, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't recommend doing a super heavy load of exercise as we're incorporating some of these things, but then we do want you to get back to a good amount of exercise. Okay. So I think you get the point.
Yeah. So when, if you're having any of these symptoms, basically, right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay, I just want to make sure that we get through everything because we've got a lot to cover in this presentation. So Casey and Callie Means, it's actually brother and sister. Most people think they're husband and wife. I was one of them until I did a little bit more research. But they're doctors, and they're doing a lot as far as pushing this movement of just
lifestyle,
making America healthy. I don't want to get political, but just making Americans more healthy, like getting more healthcare dollars to go towards proactive healthcare.
Yeah, getting this information out there at a bigger level, basically.
Yes, and Callie Means has a really good quote in this book that they wrote together. No drug has ever lowered the incidence of the very problem it's trying to treat. Drugs do not heal us. Drugs can change us, and drugs can help with symptoms, but drugs are not going to heal us. What we do, our healthy practices, are what is going to heal us.
All right, guys, you ready?
Okay, so now let's actually get into why you came. So the 5 steps. Let's go over these 5 steps. Things that you can implement tomorrow to start on this journey. Number 1, balance your body type. And the first thing you need to do to balance your body type is identify your body type. Know what we're up against.
So there's 4 different body types that we'll go through, A, B, C, and D, and we'll kind of go into depth on each one of these. So
yeah. So kind of be thinking, which of these do I check off? What does my body look like? What kind of symptoms resonate with me? That's going to help you identify your body type. And you can be more than one body type. You can be a mixture.
So the cortisol, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but
Mhm.
weight gain around the abdomen, very common for cortisol, difficulty with sleep, falling asleep, just dragging in the morning, even though no matter how much sleep you get, you crave salty foods, wired but tired,
Mhm.
I think is the,
Yep, that's a very useful phrase, wired but tired.
so trouble calming down. This is the anxiety,
Mhm.
probably type group of people.
Yeah, this body type is very common for the women in the peri or menopause phase of life. So not only can you be more than one body type at a time, but you can be a different body type at different times of your life
Mhm.
as well.
I feel like the dad bods, I feel like fall into this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a combination between this and type D, but yeah.
Okay, and so then here's estrogen. And again, men can have this body type too, because men have estrogen and men need proper levels of estrogen balance. So you got the weight in the hips and the thighs, the breast tissue, and then
Oh, sorry.
um, and then those gallbladder issues, which hello females, like good grief, the amount of gallbladder issues we see with females in this particular estrogen body type. But you're getting those crazy mood swings with periods. So maybe we could ask your husbands if this is your body type, uterine fibroids, the endometriosis, anything like trouble with fertility, infertility, pregnancy loss, hot flashes, or night sweats. So that's your type B body type.
The thyroid, type C, so difficulty losing weight, just general weight gain overall, low motivation, that's a big one. Constipation, that's another big one, chronic constipation. Hair loss,
Kind of like a puffier face.
puffier face, pretty good. So
Mhm.
yeah, that would be thyroid.
And then the liver. And so don't let this, because this is the one male picture, but this can be a female, this can be male, all these can be male or female. But again, you're going to get the weight gain around the abdomen, but this weight gain is going to be a little bit harder. It's not going to be as like squishy as the cortisol weight gain body type. Pain under the right side of the rib cage, which is where our liver and our gallbladder live, hemorrhoids or varicose veins, actually sensitivity to NutraSweet, chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, that is the liver body type.
And chemicals, like you walk into, like what I equate to that is you walk into like a JCPenney or somewhere into the perfume section and it just ruins your whole day. That's just chemical sensitivity.
Yeah. So does anybody resonate with any of these body types? And you can just, and you don't have to tell us if you don't want to, but does anybody resonate with any of these or a couple of these? Or maybe you used to be one and now you're a different one. But knowing your body type now is going to help us understand what hormones are out of balance. So where we need to focus going forward, whether you're doing these 5 steps, whether you go to the next step of doing the Living Light program, whether you work with other doctors that aren't even us, like it's important to know what you're up against so you know what to do about it.
Yeah, and then we can knowing this can help us like reverse engineer some solutions that could come up.
Yeah.
To some problems that could come up in the future. But in addition, there's like the root cause assessment, right? That's that can get further into the body types. And you can take a symptom survey and it'll kind of group you into one of these as well.
Yeah. So what he's talking about, root cause assessment, that's a form we have you fill out if you're going to do a metabolic discovery call with us, that we'll talk about later. But that's the form that we have you fill out. So not only can we identify, body type and some other things that's going on, but it can help you understand and identify what you have been dealing with and maybe haven't consciously been aware of it.
Yeah, and some of these, you guys are awesome in the chat, but some of these, yeah, it doesn't have to be exact, but we're trying to just, if there's a majority of some and you just don't have like one of the symptoms, that's okay. You're probably that type in general.
Oh, yes. It's not going to be everything in the list. Okay. So what do we do? So now we know what our body kind of have at least an idea. Can you be all of these? Yes, you can. And I think that is probably more common, that people can pick a little bit from each of these. So what do we do? Now we know our body type. What do we need to do about it? We know our cortisol is out of whack. We know our thyroid needs a lot of help. We know our liver is really suffering. So what do we need to do? We need to help regulate what is out of whack and what regulates those different body systems. And that comes down to a lot of the HPA axis. So Dr. Georgia mentioned it, the hypothalamus, the pituitary, which are 2 parts in the brain, and the adrenal gland. There's an axis that those are all communicating with. The adrenal The adrenal glands are what produce the cortisol, but it's not the only thing they do. So we need to regulate that HPA axis because it is essentially the thermostat of our body.
Right. And so like you see that spray there, that's kind of one of the things that helps reset the HPA axis, but you're resetting your metabolism, that set point for your metabolism. That's kind of what this is. And that's what the goal is. So yeah, if you think of a thermostat in your home, if you set it to 70 on a hot summer day, you open the windows, hot air comes in, the thermostat goes off to kick it back to that 70 degrees. So that's basically that HPA axis. You're trying, if you gain a little bit extra weight, your body kicks your butt into gear and then it burns that stuff. So it's kind of like a thermostat as far as the HPA axis.
Yes. And so why we focus on balancing the HPA axis is that is one tool that you can have as a lifelong tool, because if you imagine that you leave your windows and your doors open on a hot summer day all day long, your thermostat is always going to be running. Your HPA axis is always going to be running if you're not addressing these things that are keeping it out of whack. And so we want to teach you those skills so you can balance the HPA axis, you can support it, you can close those windows and doors and let your body just come to a homeostasis on its own, essentially.
Right. And so taking an upstream approach, not trying to just treat a bunch of downstream.
Yes. Yeah.
Downstream things. So yeah, metabolic function, adrenal function, thyroid function, your appetite, all of these things, HPA axis. This is the master gland in the brain that this is going to focus on.
All right. And so that's the last thing. Pregnant brain. So the HPA axis, that component, that is what's missing in a lot of diets, in a lot of pills, in a lot of injections, all of these rapid weight loss or these like programs that promise a lot of weight loss that may produce some weight loss, but they're missing that piece that can help self-regulate, so we don't have our HPA axis, our thermostat constantly running.
Yeah. Do you know somebody that can eat anything and never gains weight? Anybody know that? Like they have that set point that their body keeps going back to. Their HPA axis never got disrupted, right? And so we have to reset the HPA axis.
Yeah. Okay. Screen's up here. Okay, so let's talk about this gal. Her name's Christina. She was 48 years old, so she was kind of going into that perimenopausal stage of life. She was a single mom of 3 kids. So if we just stop right there, you can kind of imagine what Christina's life is like. She's a parent. She's a single parent, and she's kind of getting to the age where she's having a lot of changes, and that can be very tough on a lot of women. She owned her own business. Yikes, that's a lot of stress. And she had about 20 to 30 pounds of weight gain. She was that body type A. She had skin issues, low energy, fatigue, and very poor sleep.
Cortisol.
Yeah, cortisol body type, 100%. So you teach her these tools, we teach her these tools, and she starts experiencing more sustained energy. Why? Because her HPA axis isn't running on overdrive.
We're focusing on more than just diet. Diet is a huge part of it, but we're focusing on like food. I shouldn't say diet. I said food is a big part of it, but we're focusing on so much more than just that, especially the cortisol type. So if your cortisol is high, we got to manage that and put some strategies in to help that.
Yeah. So skin issues clear up. She's sleeping better. So of course she's going to, like, once you start fixing one of these things, everything else is going to kind of fall in place. It's like domino effect, because if you sleep better, of course you're going to have more energy. Of course your barrier systems aren't going to be so taxed, so your skin can catch up and it can heal. Most importantly, the connection and relationship she had with her children was so much better. She wasn't as irritable. She wasn't as snappy. She was more calm and grounded. So she lost a pretty good amount of weight. You can see here, she gained some confidence back. So it just really changed her life. And again, these are tools that she was able to take beyond a 5-step program, a 10-week program, a 3-month diet plan with these pills or those injections.
Yeah, more sleep, more restful sleep, super important, especially for our type A's there. And cortisol. Here's the before and afters of the eczema. And really important to track your progress here, taking pictures, super important, so you can see how things are going. And the most important, as Dr. Michelle said, a deeper connection with your kids. And if you've got kids, you can probably relate to that at some level.
How important that is.
And just you can relate to how tired you can be sometimes with kids too. And I can tell you, just going through the program myself, like I have more energy, more sustained energy and higher energy and less irritable with the
Mhm.
kids. Those little things don't aggravate you. So yeah, deeper connection for sure.
Okay, so step number 2, we need to regulate the nervous system. So we're kind of priming the nervous system by helping regulate the HPA axis, because that is a big controller and a contributor to the nervous system. But if you want to be more present, you need to know your body type, but you also need to regulate the nervous system. So we're talking about the brain and how the brain communicates with the body.
Yeah, Chad, has anyone heard of fight or flight before?
Yes.
A lot of people probably have heard of fight or flight. That's your sympathetic dominant system, right? So your nervous system is probably one of the most important systems that controls all of your other systems, right? And so how many people have heard of rest and digest? That's your parasympathetic part. So your autonomic nervous system, things that are automatically controlled that you're probably taking for granted. Your immune system, your digestion, your hormones, breathing without thinking about it, your heartbeat, your liver, and detoxifying. You don't have to think about these things. It's your nervous system controlling that, and it's your autonomic nervous system under your parasympathetic rest and digest part of your nervous system.
Yep.
So
yeah, so a lot of the goals that we have, sleeping better, having our moods more regulated, losing weight, those are essentially parasympathetic goals. But we can't achieve parasympathetic goals if we are stuck in sympathetic dominance.
So you can kind of see, sorry, my screen's a little tiny here, so it's harder for me to read. But when you're in sympathetic, when you're stuck in sympathetic dominance, you can't heal. And so healing happens in parasympathetic mode. When you're stuck in fight or flight and you're running from a tiger, you can't heal. And I'll tell you, when you're stuck up here, cortisol's high, you're not going to drop the weight. This is part of the magic, is getting yourself down and rest and digest. So your body can't tell the difference between perceived stressors or dangers or real ones. So if you're thinking about it, like if a tiger walks into the room, that's real. But the chronic stress we live in every day, that's also your nervous system can't tell the difference between that and a tiger walking into the room. And so that's why we have to take it upon ourselves to regulate our own nervous system. So yeah, you can only be in one of these at a time, either fight or flight or rest and digest. So rest, digest, repair, restore, revive, regenerate. Those are all parasympathetic.
Yeah.
Type things.
And that's why, we don't have the steps in necessarily order. But you can see we haven't even talked about food, because we have to get these things under control, because all dysfunction in our body ties back to stress, perceived stress, real stress, physical, emotional, or spiritual trauma. These are all stressors, and all of our dysfunction is going to be tied back. Chemicals, the other one, is going to be tied back to that. So if you're wondering what the root of dysfunction in your body is, there's some stressor or stressors that it's going to be tied back to, and it's always going to be associated with inflammation as well. So some forms of inflammation are going to be subtle. You're not going to feel them. That's kind of how like a heart attack happens. We have inflammation in the arteries, and then we don't feel that until we have a heart attack and, we're gasping for breath on the ground. So that's, that can be like usually a more chronic low grade inflammation. But yeah, so that's kind of like a physical, a little bit of chemical, but we've got the chemical, the physical, and the emotional stressors. And like Dr. George said, your body and your cortisol output does not know the difference between those stressors.
Yeah, so chemical stress could be certain foods that you're putting into the body. It could be the millions of things that we are probably breathing in on a daily basis, what you're drinking, like all these can be chemical, emotional. It could be certain people in our lives or certain situations that we put our bodies in, and your body can be stressed out from that. Physical stress, this one, most people kind of know physical stress, like exercise, or breaking something, injuring yourself. Those are all physical stressors to the body. And most people are pretty aware of what happens when you do those things. If you break your ankle, it's going to swell, get inflamed, hurt, and those are all your body's signs of telling you there's something wrong. Chronic low-level inflammation might look like stiff joints or brain fog or fatigue, lack of sleep, so, or sleep insomnia.
Mhm.
So these are signs of chronic stress, basically.
Yeah, so we want to bring your body back to homeostasis so we can manage these stressors in a healthy way. We're not going to avoid stress, but we need to be able to manage it well.
And your nervous system, that's huge.
Yes, definitely. It's a big part of it. So when it comes to fat loss or weight loss, did you know that for every 10 pounds of body fat that you lose, 8.5 pounds of that are through the breath? And so it's, you know, we kind of all have this picture in our head of, yeah, I lose weight, I burn fat, but what does that actually do? There's a chemical reaction in the body, and there's, you know, there's heat involved, there's chemicals involved, there's different components within the body that turn that fat, those fat cells into,
Carbon, hydrogen, oxygen,
Yes.
basically.
And so we're breathing that out. 8.5 out of 10 pounds is coming out through the breath. The rest is coming out through the urine.
Yeah, I think that next slide actually is. So they took a poll on even doctors. So doctors, when you burn fat or lose weight, they asked, where do you think it goes? And a majority of them said like energy and heat. And the correct answer is actually carbon dioxide, this one over here.
Mhm.
And so like, yeah, dietitians, family doctors, they pulled all these people. And so, yeah, when the reason why we say this is breathing is how we get rid of a lot of that. So
And breathing is how we regulate our nervous
breath
system.
is really, really important
Mhm.
to getting some of these things out.
Yeah, breath is essentially the steering wheel of the nervous system. If we don't have that steering wheel guiding the rudder to guide us through these stressful situations, then our ship is going to be all over the place.
Right. And so remember, we can only be in fight or flight or rest and digest. And breath is the fastest way.
Oops, sorry.
Breath is the fastest way to change your nervous system.
Mhm.
And we take, I think, 25,000 breaths each day, I think it is. So if we can hone in on how we are breathing, that can really affect our nervous system state.
Yeah, I think we might need to skip over some of our nice case studies. What do you think? We're kind of running short on time. Yes,
We can go through them quick.
Okay, so this gal, she's a body type A. She's living kind of a stressful life, unhealthy relationship with food. Tried, like many of you, tried a lot of different programs in the past, but never found anything that really stuck or provided actual results. So once she went through these programs, she incorporated these steps, her energy improved, her sleep improved, she was less inflamed, no more joint pain, that's an inflammation sign. Her hormones became more balanced, and you can see here just how she's fitting better into her clothes. So regardless of a number on a scale, I think everybody would be happy with results like this, no matter what the number on the scale looked like.
Mm-hmm. I'll stay quiet and try to stay on time.
Usually I'm the one that talks too much. Okay, so step number three takes us to that the nutrition. We're going to be talking about not necessarily, you know, macronutrients and calories, but we're going to talk about nutrient density.
Those are important.
But we're going to talk about nutrient density and eating windows.
So your eating window, that's something that gets missed a lot of times. And I saw somebody say intermittent fasting in the chat, which is great. But meal timing can make a big difference in how we are to lose weight or not lose weight. So avoid eating avoid eating meals 3 hours before bed. That's a huge tip for people trying to lose weight, because our digestion and liver work overnight, and they need some time to digest that food before we lay down. So if you're eating at 10 o'clock, you should be eating your meal at 7 or before, and finishing at 7.
Yeah, if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock. And that's kind of a natural way to get into intermittent fasting, because by, you know, stopping eating at a certain time, you are essentially compressing that eating window.
Yeah, if you eat late, your body focuses on digesting rather than repairing. And so then your sleep gets affected. So if you have anything that measures your sleep, you can start to see that if you eat too close to bed, it'll start to affect your numbers.
Yeah. And then we want to eat whole foods as much as possible. And this is something that I'm sure no one is a stranger to, is we want to be eating things that don't have ingredient labels as much as possible. You know what's in an apple. Do you know what's in a box of cereal? not without reading ingredient labels. So eating whole foods, fruits, vegetables, meat, vegetables. We want to eat whole foods as much as possible because that is where our body is going to get the nutrients we need. You know, people ask about multivitamins. Yeah, but we can get those a lot better from food. Yes, our soil is depleted. Yes, our food system in America is broken. But I'm going to tell you, vegetables are still going to do you better than not vegetables.
Yeah, and a lot of like keto carnivore, it cuts out a lot of these things, but it also cuts out a lot of just junk food. And so you're getting rid of a lot of inflammation, but your plates should be looking pretty colorful. The reasons why we try to get the array of these different things is because it has different nutrients that our body uses. And especially we were talking about like going back to Ozempic and rapid weight loss, we need a lot of these antioxidants to offset these organic pollutants that are in our bloodstream. So when we lose weight, so this is the magic sauce. You got to get more colors.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why the fairly rapid weight loss we see when incorporating these the 5 pillars or the 10-week program for our Living Light program. We're seeing pretty rapid weight loss, but we're doing it in a safe way because we're using the nutrients from these foods to help offset and protect ourselves from that toxic offload that's happening with that weight loss.
Yeah, and so as you can see, it's not really a calorie restrictive diet. It's anti-inflammatory though.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can just see like the nutrient density versus calorie counting. I mean, you're going to get a lot more bang for your buck from an apple than you will from a bowl full of chips.
And the bigger question is, or if you do any of the research into this avenue, is what is that bowl of chips doing to your microbiome? And what effect is that having for the next days, weeks? Or what is this apple doing? What is it feeding? The mindset of how we eat these things is very important. And I mean, if we get these things once in a while, but if this is a part of your regular diet, and the best analogy I can think of is if you're constantly just ripping a scab off a wound, it's never going to heal. So if you're constantly putting these things in, it's going to be really hard to lose weight.
Yeah. So we want to be balancing our blood sugar in the most natural way possible. And nutrition is a huge way of doing that. And it's not even just sugar that's going in, but it's the things that are causing the inflammation. So like those potato chips, for instance, what kind of nasty oils are they fried in? That can cause a lot of inflammation in the body, which can mess with your blood sugar without even having, I mean, forget the sugar content in those potatoes, so we want to make sure that we're optimizing our insulin regulation. We want to be focusing on anti-inflammatory things that we're putting to fuel in our body. So women lose a lot of water weight when they first start losing fat loss or start losing fat, but it's because we are decreasing that inflammatory load.
Yeah, guys, I mean,
I shouldn't say women.
Guys, you lose a ton of just inflammation.
Yeah.
Off the bat. But yeah, prioritizing protein and fiber, intermittent fasting, that helps us get into the ketosis state, which is, I saw somebody does keto, but there's different ways to do it. And then optimizing the nutrient dense part of the food. So yeah, this is a perfect example of something that you guys were kind of talking about in the chat. This person did Atkins Weight Watchers, and they all just focused on the food, right? And so we're trying to go a little deeper level of healing and longevity with that. So she had inflammation, digestive issues, low energy, snacked in the afternoons, tried a ton of different programs.
Yeah. But then, we gave her, or she gets these tools to help regulate some of these things, balance the hormones, balance the cortisol, regulate the HPA axis. Her energy gets better, her sleep gets better, she's less inflamed, she doesn't have the joint pain.
Meal timing, prioritizing sleep, optimizing your breath, regulating the nervous system, did a lot of these things.
Yeah. So lots of tools. Okay, so step number 4 is sleep and circadian rhythm. A lot of programs or a lot of drugs do not focus on the rest and recovery phase of healing and improving your health status. And we really need to make sure that, I always tell my patients in this office, to heal, you have to poop and you have to sleep. And if you're not pooping and sleeping, you're not living, and you're certainly not going to heal. So we have to make sure we are prioritizing sleep. It's very easy to brush it off because we all basically sleep, and we all know sleep is important, but we don't make it a priority.
But I almost guarantee everybody in here has missed sleep multiple nights in a row and you're irritable. The first kind of food, what's the first kind of food you want to go for when you miss sleep? Do you think it's good food, or is it quick, easy, I want food? Right. And so we've all been there, and the quick, easy, I want food is there. It's junk food. And so prioritizing your sleep sets your hormones up to eat healthy and be good and be okay with eating healthy and not want the junk food. So prioritizing sleep's huge. So you can see this is just a melatonin cortisol path. The red is the cortisol spikes in the morning and should go down throughout the day, and then lower at night. And then melatonin's lower during the day and increases during the night. And so that's a normal rhythm. It follows the sun, which is really important.
Yes, but beyond melatonin and cortisol, there's other hormones that are related to our sleep-wake cycle, that circadian rhythm.
Yeah, so if you're not getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep, you're probably going to have some cravings, and you're not going to feel satisfied when you're eating. Ghrelin is the hunger hormone, right? So if high ghrelin makes you hungry, low makes you feel satisfied. So leptin is our satiety hormone, and we actually have a little seminar on both of these hormones that we talked about before. So yeah, you don't feel satisfied and you're hungry basically when you're sleep deprived.
Yeah. We'll talk real quick about just different types of light, but the type of light that you're exposed to at different times of day is going to affect your circadian rhythm as well. So getting like that red light exposure towards the evening.
So sunset, you can see here as the sun sets, red light increases during the day. And then if we're around LEDs a lot, it's just mostly blue light. And so that's not good for our circadian rhythm here. And so these are the incandescent lights that we would recommend at night to get your body primed, get the melatonin. Red light increases melatonin. And so melatonin goes up, you can get sleepy and you're going to sleep better, and it decreases cortisol. So resetting that rhythm is really important. Getting first morning sunlight help to reset the circadian rhythm. Really, really important.
Yeah. So as we're going through these, and as you're hopefully taking notes, we're trying to drop these tidbits in, like, okay, for step number 4, the sleep and circadian rhythm, these are things I can be doing. I can start replacing bulbs with incandescent bulbs. I can start getting first morning sun. These are the steps we want you to be taking for these 5 steps to start on this healthy rapid weight loss journey.
Right. And blue light blocking glasses. I don't wear these because I like wearing glasses. I wear it because it blocks out blue light. So taking some strategies to increase your red light in the evening and decrease your blue light can really help your circadian. So if you're struggling with sleep.
Yeah.
Tracking is huge.
So we like the Oura Ring. It's a very powerful tool. It gives us a lot of different biomarkers, some different metrics. HRV is one of them, and that is a very good sign of longevity
and how you're healing.
So that's something that the Oura Ring will track. That's something we use in the program. It's not required, but we encourage people to get us an Oura Ring to at least wear when they're sleeping, so you can track those metrics from your sleep.
Yeah, you can see your rapid eye movement sleep, your deep sleep, your readiness. It'll give you a readiness score, your HRV. But I had a patient get one, and it was really funny. She thought she was sleeping horrible, and she got it. She's like, "Oh, I'm sleeping great!" And it was all like mental. It was all like she was psyching herself out, and she was sleeping good. And now she feels even better now that she knows she's sleeping good and she's tracking it. So sometimes you might just be psyching yourself out with sleep.
So we're gonna skip these because we've got some more to get through before we get there, because we want to make sure we get this gal did pretty good. She did pretty good. Okay. I love this thing. Okay, so the step number 5 is identity and coachability. We heal best in a community.
And there's research to show this. Actually, I think it's in a couple
It is,
slides.
yeah. So the triad of health is this is a way you can look at as you're starting on a healing journey. You want to make sure you're hitting all of these items. So your lifestyle, and that includes what you're eating, because you eat for as a lifestyle, your environment. So not only what you're putting in, but what you're putting yourself in, and then your mindset and your identity.
Which is huge. And we have kind of sessions on how to help all of these things. So recalibrating your identity after you've lost weight, you don't want to go back to your old identity. You want a new identity. You want to stay in that identity that you have worked for, right?
Mhm.
We don't want to go back and regain what we are. So we have to reset, recalibrate that identity.
Yeah, one of the things we have people do when they're going through through our program is we say, get rid of the fat genes, because once you lose the weight, you don't need that crutch to lean back on. You're not going back to that. You're not that old person. I say fat genes because that's what people call them. I mean, but you get rid of the old clothes that you're hanging on just in case the weight comes back. Like, get rid of that. Don't do that to your mind.
Clean
Don't
your
do that to
closets out.
yourself.
That's huge.
Mhm.
So behavior change is hard. So being a part of the community is going to be, that's how you become successful. And that's what we're trying to create a little bit more of here, especially Southwest Kansas, but really virtually now, because you can go anywhere virtually.
Mhm.
But
Oh, you can have a community with anybody.
yeah, but we want to have like-minded people connect and really support each other so we can have long-term success.
Yeah. So that, we're talking about 5 steps of how to start on this healthy, effective weight loss journey, and getting a community around you that's going to hold you accountable, that's going to support you. Maybe that's going through the same thing. So you guys can kind of not commiserate, but really build each other up and say, hey, you know what, if I'm doing it, you can do it, and we can do it together.
Yeah. And like we've talked about your why before. What's your why of wanting to do this? Your why, if your why is big enough, the how doesn't matter.
Mhm.
And so you need reminders for what your why is. I've got them hanging up around our house.
He does.
And so I look at them every day,
Mhm.
day in and day out. The why has to be bigger.
Mhm.
And that'll keep you accountable. But also showing other people your why so they can keep you accountable,
Mhm.
whoever that might
Which
be.
is, I think, the harder of the two,
Mhm.
but that's definitely pretty effective. So like we said, research shows that having a supportive community improves weight loss, specifically weight loss outcomes. Research shows that participating in groups, you're 600% more likely to reach your weight loss goals and more likely to lose twice the weight than participating in a solo, just doing it yourself plan.
Mhm.
And that still applies to people who don't like being in groups. Like introverts that don't like to talk about themselves in a group, they still see the benefit of doing something in a group setting.
And just being a part of it too.
Mhm.
Even if you're not commenting and doing stuff, being a part of it and celebrating your wins, even
Mhm.
huge. Golly, this little thing, you guys, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so the Cleveland Clinic did a study, and they found that functional medicine, because a lot of functional medicine practices like ours are going more towards this group setting, these group programs, because they do understand the benefit of healing in a community.
Mhm.
So that's what their study was all about. It's pretty cool.
All right,
Oh,
we did it.
I
you
feel like
guys.
we just ran a marathon.
Sorry, I just hit my microphone too.
Okay, so what we covered today, let's recap, because we want you to go tomorrow and start making changes, because we want to be effective in your weight loss journey. We want it to be a sustainable thing. We want you to be able to add value and add steps as you're going throughout, the tomorrow, the next week, the next month. So we talked about balancing your body type and your HPA axis.
So regulating your nervous system. So one thing I do want to touch on, I'll take a minute to do this. So the correct posture to breathe, right? And so your tongue, if you say nah, or like that letter N, but nah, where your tongue lands at the roof of your mouth, that's where your tongue should sit behind your teeth. And then 3/4 of your tongue should sit up on your palate, up on the top of your palate. Your lips closed, jaw relaxed, shouldn't have any musculature engaged here. That's your normal posture. That's your normal tongue posture and your normal posture for breathing. And then your normal breathing should be somewhere around 6 seconds in and 6 seconds out. And so that should be your normal in and out breathing. If you want to, the greatest thing you can do for longevity, the people who live the longest breathe slow. And so 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. So that's one of the ways you can regulate your nervous system. So whenever you're thinking about it, if you're a mouth breather, that is so bad for your health. And so start taping your mouth shut at night and concentrate on your breathing. Every chance you think about your breathing, get in that posture.
Or you have a wife that nags you about mouth breathing, and that seems to shut it down pretty quick too.
It helps.
Okay, so we got to regulate the nervous system. Breathing is huge. Focusing on nutrient density, so essentially eating whole foods as much as possible, and that eating window. So if you do nothing else, stop eating 3 hours from the time you go to bed. So your meal is, you get done eating, you take your last bite at 7, you plan to go to bed at 10 p.m. or, a lot of times you got to work backwards
Yeah,
from your
the
bedtime.
eating window, like 16:8 is a common intermittent fasting window, but even there's a lot of good research that says 13 hours. If you even get 13 hours, there's a lot of benefit from that. But yeah, 16, you have to play around with some intermittent fasting.
Yeah, start supporting a healthy circadian rhythm and sleep. So using those blue light blocking glasses, the incandescent bulbs in the evening, and then getting exposure to first morning sun. Praise the Lord, it's going to start getting warm soon, so it'll be a little less miserable to get out into that first morning sun.
And just getting out during the day, that's something when the weather is appropriate. I try to just get out, and even if it's my face in the sun, like there's a lot of just good that can help with, other than just vitamin D, there's a lot the sun does for our body to regulate. So getting out in the sun, and then the identity, coachability, being a part of a community, really, really huge.
Yep. So those are 5 things that you can do. I mean, and as far as step 5, tomorrow you can tell a friend, hey, I want to get serious about this goal. Maybe it's weight loss. Maybe it's having more energy. Maybe it's sleeping better at night. But tell a friend, tell a family member, tell your spouse, and they can start holding you accountable. So you can do this in a community.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we talked about 5 steps that you can do tomorrow. They don't cost any money. They're easy. They're cheap, free. And you can start them, like I said, tomorrow, this week, you can start implementing. You don't have to implement all 5 in one day. But if you want to take this further, right? You say, yeah, that all sounds good. I want like that, but
I want some of the results
next
those
level.
people were getting.
Yes, some of the results that, we showed you a few of those people that had really good results on the Living Light program that we did. So the 5 pillars or the 5 steps that we talked about is kind of pulled out of our Living Light program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we take a deeper dive through and bring in some experts on some areas like breathing.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's like a couple hour video on just different breath techniques to really help.
Yeah.
But yeah, discovery calls, right?
Yes. So if that's you and you say, yes, these steps were great, but I want more and I want to get really serious about this weight loss journey and I want to get some of those results that you guys were talking about, you can book a free discovery call with us and we can talk to you about the Living Light program and how to take these 5 steps, but really amp them up and ramp up your weight loss journey and your health journey overall. So it's free, this complimentary metabolic discovery call, the things that we'll go over is specific health challenges you're facing. And it doesn't have to be necessarily weight related. What you've tried in the past that hasn't worked, because to know where we're going, we need to know where we've been. And then what your specific health goals are and why they're important to you, because it doesn't matter what we want for you if that's not what you want for you.
Yeah, the why has to be bigger. If the why is big enough, doesn't matter how.
Yeah. And then from there, once we have that information, we can kind of talk about, yes, I think this Living Light program is good for you. Or we have a couple of different levels of the Living Light program, and maybe one makes more sense for you than the other. But we want to make sure that whatever your next step is the right next step for you.
Mm-hmm. So during that, yeah, you'll fill out kind of a root cause assessment form. It gives us an idea of what areas of the body might be in stress and where we can kind of help.
And we'll talk about identifying that body type out of those A, B, C, and D body types.
Yeah, that's within that assessment as well.
So who is this call for? We're going to try to get through this fast because we want to make sure we have a little bit of time for questions. But this call, the discovery call, the metabolic discovery call, is for people who have, like many of you, have tried everything, but just have had little to no results or no lasting results. It's for people that want to learn a healthy and sustainable way to release weight and not just rely on pills, injections, and crazy diets or exercise plans.
Right. And so can we just be a little real for a second? Being unhealthy is expensive. Okay. Like all of these things right here, this is expensive. This is going to be expensive. The next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years is going to be expensive. So while this might not be for everybody, we want to see a lot of these issues resolved. And that's why we're taking our time this evening to try to help you to the best of our ability.
Yeah. Who maybe more importantly, the discovery calls are not for is if you're just looking for a quick fix or a temporary solution. If in 2 months you're going to the beach and you want to look good in your bikini and then you have no intentions of doing anything once you get back from the beach, this is this is just not for you. And that's fine. It's not for you for right now. If you're not coachable or you're not looking to grow, if you're really set in your ways and you're proud of being set in your ways, it's just probably not for you right now.
You're
Sorry, I don't want to
committed.
cut you off.
But not really.
Yeah, I'm committed. Am I committed?
Why? What's your why? Are you ready to make some changes for the better?
And be honest with yourself, because we're still going to sleep at night. So we want you to make sure you're making the right decision for you and your family.
There's a lot of accountability built into this, but you still need to make choices. So if you're
Yes.
not ready to make those choices, it's probably not time yet.
And you're
But
not
that's
ready
okay.
to be held to
Yeah.
the accountability.
And that's okay. Like maybe it's 3 months from now, or 6 months from now, and that's fine. But this is kind of where we're being transparent here.
Mhm. Yeah. So we will put a link in for the discovery calls, and you'll have plenty of options or plenty of ways to schedule those discovery calls. If like right now you're saying, yes, my gosh, I want to get on that free call and talk to you guys about all of this. We will get you those resources and those links. So if you're ready to say goodbye to any of the things on this list, this call is for you. So go ahead. It's free. It's about 30 minutes of your time,
Yeah, about 30 minutes.
give or take.
Mhm.
But if you're ready to say goodbye to these things, all it's going to cost you is 30 minutes of your time. And you can kind of get an idea of what our program can provide for you. So how to schedule, I will drop a link in the chat, and then you can choose. You want to talk about that? And I'm going to drop a link in the chat.
Yeah, choose phone or video, preferably video. We like to see you. So we can do phone, but we prefer videos because I like to just see it and get a little bit of a better rapport that way. You choose the date and time, fill out your name, phone number, a little bit of specifics. The form, the root cause assessment will take a little bit longer, but this form to sign up to schedule it will only take a minute. And then you confirm and you can book it. So you can do that right now, and she's going to drop the link.
So I dropped the link for a discovery call. If someone wants to click on that, just real quick, it should take you to a booking page.
Yep.
It'll have George's smiling face. And if someone can just verify that link works.
We tested it out, but it should. You never know.
You just never know. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, I've tried everything. How is this different? I don't have time for this. I don't have the money for this. I'm so tired. I can't add anything new. I've got so much going
She
on.
said it's not working.
Okay, you guys do that, and I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, I have a lack of willpower. I don't have support. We've got you covered. We've got you covered. So we've put together a protocol basically for a lot of these different resistant points along the way, just to try to make you the most successful that you can be during all of this. Michelle is working on it.
Furiously. Try that. Sorry, guys. I did this the hard way.
Just imagine in 10 weeks, the difference of how you can feel. So 10 weeks, not a very long time. Can feel like forever, but not a very long time. And we've just seen a lot of success just in that time period. And we're trying to build you up to have you have skills for a lifetime. Ready? Got it. Nice. Okay. Now it's working. So yeah, safe and effective weight loss. So we want you, even though when we're done with the weight loss, we want you to keep going. Yeah, sorry, I got the chat. We want you to keep going and be able to do this and have the confidence to do it and keep doing it. And, as part of our living light, you have support. As long as we're here, you have support even after the program's done. And so there is a community that we're building. You'll have access to that community as long as we are still doing living light.
Yep.
So,
okay, we got discovery call links in there. We talked about a lot of reasons why not to do it, and reasons why maybe you can still do it if you want to be committed to it. And so you can kind of see this weekly timeline up to the first 6 weeks of our Living Light program. Week 1, you get your package, you're excited, you get your game plan, you talk to us, you figure out what the heck is even going on. We get you started on the program and going through some modules. Week 2, you're getting accountability, you're getting check-ins. So as you're going through the program, you're not wondering, well, what the heck am I supposed to be doing? We're there for you. Week 3, your energy and focus and your pain are getting better. Week 4, your metabolism is firing on all cylinders. You're really seeing that weight loss come off. You're feeling better. You're sleeping better. Your hormones are regulating themselves. Number 5, you may have to start changing the clothing that you're wearing because you've lost enough inches that your old clothes just don't fit you anymore. By week 6, there's a shift in our program at week 6, and that's why we do this timeline up to week 6, because by week 6 you really reset that metabolic pathway or your metabolism, and you dramatically improve the health of your mitochondria, your microbiome, and your mental faculties. You're essentially a whole new person after 6 weeks, and it's all from the tools that we're walking you through and we are teaching you that are maintainable beyond this 10-week program.
So yeah, what's the cost of just being stagnant? And so that's a thought process we just want to put in your head. Like, what if you don't do anything, right? So as time goes on, one of our goals is health span, right? We want you to have quality over our lifespan. And so the cost of not doing anything and what it's going to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, the cost of being overweight alone is more than just, like we said, out of pocket, like what's coming out of your bank account. It's high blood pressure, it's diabetes, it's losing time with your family, it's not having the energy to enjoy your vacations. There's a lot of cost in action, not only financially, but lifestyle wise and quality of life wise. So this person did the program, lost 5 pounds in their first week, and that's not even the most we've heard in the first week.
You guys, this week, like 10 pounds, 9.5 inches in 7 days.
That was a client that we worked with, lost 10 pounds and 9.5 inches in the first 7 days. Was it even 7 days?
It's 7.
Okay. Yes. And so, I mean, this person, no, this person had to, or had the skills and the tools to make a plan for the Super Bowl so they could stay on track, and because they know life doesn't revolve around junky foods anymore. This person had to contact their doctor because they were still taking blood pressure medications, but their blood pressure issues resolved themselves so much that they had to contact their doctor so they could not have too low blood pressure because of the medications anymore. Yeah.
That's what it's about. That's what it's about. Regulating your body.
Yeah. So what if this isn't the right time for me? There's never going to be a good time, right? There's never a good time to switch jobs. There's never a good time to have a baby. There's never going to be a good time to say, let me just turn my lifestyle around. So just do it, because the cost of inaction is way greater than the cost of action.
Yeah. And you're actually going to save time in the long run, because you're going to have way more energy.
Yes.
And I can be a testament to that. And you could probably be a testament for me for that. Just like with playing with the kids in the evening. Like, there was days I would come home and just want to plop on the couch and not do anything. And now I'm like playing with the kids until it's bedtime. It's
life-changing for the whole family, for the whole household. What if I'm vegetarian or vegan? Our Living Light program, we have adjustments for that. That's doable. I've tried so many programs. What makes this different? But so we talked about the 5 steps, and those are pretty different from most plans in general, but the accountability, the coaching, the points of contact that we as coaches have with you, one-on-one and in the group setting and the community setting, is very different. It really sets it apart. So you have a community setting, but you also have one-on-one time with a coach to help you with more of your specific roadblocks or even successes.
And we're not just focusing on food, like we said with our 5 steps today, right?
Yeah.
Can you just get the spray? No, it's a whole program, and so it's a whole system, and it's the accountability. It's everything. It's not just the spray that's doing it. It's kind of everything. And so, no, you can't just do the spray.
Yeah. So the investment, we have, like I mentioned, we have different levels of our Living Light program. That's something we talk about in that metabolic discovery call, because we want to make sure not only is this right for you lifestyle wise, but is it going to be right for you?
Thanks, Butch.
Thanks, Butch. Is it going to be right for you financially wise? So that's something we will talk to you about. Normally programs like this, especially with like how many touch points and accountability points you have, can cost thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. But our program, like I said, it's very ranges. The lowest level is $19.99. But again, that's something we would definitely talk about on that metabolic discovery call. So really the question that we have for you is, what is the cost of not doing anything, and can you afford to not make a change?
Mhm.
What would your life have looked like if you had made the change a year ago or 10 years ago? And so you can do that for your future self right now.
Mhm. So you want to keep the status quo, the weight gain, the inflammation, the bloating, the joint pains, the poor sleep, or can we try something different and more long lasting in 10 weeks and beyond for you guys?
Yeah. So schedule your call. You have that link in there. We're going to send an email, a follow-up email with a link to this replay. Also with a link to the discovery call if you missed it in the chat, but you will have access to that. Your future self will thank you, because like I said, if you had done this 10 years ago, right now you would be thanking yourself 10 years ago. So you can be doing this for next year's you, or 10 years from now, you.
Yeah, it's time you have to invest in yourself, in your health.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get to this last, I think this next slide is where we talk about the gift. So you made it to the end.
Good job.
You did it. We talk a lot. But I'm gonna drop a link in the chat to the free gift that you get for being a live attendee and staying until the end. It's a guide that we put a lot of heart into. It's 10 ways to detox your home. Not only that, it's 10 ways we personally detoxed our home. So these aren't just things that we had like ChatGPT write up for us. This isn't something we read on healthline.com. These are 10 ways that we literally changed the toxic levels in our home. Some are things that you can buy, some are practices you can incorporate. So it gives a really wide range. I'm going to drop a link in the chat to get to the document, and you can access that. And I just would love it if someone could tell me if they can access that. Oh, thank you. Okay. Absolutely. So just someone can click on that and let me know that they're able to access that PDF. Perfect. Okay. So you can print that there's links in there. So as long as you're viewing it as a PDF, those links in there are clickable. But there's lots of, like I said, just practices that you can incorporate to detox your home. So as you're going through your weight loss journey, you can take that toxic burden and lessen it off of your body and off of your family's bodies.
Yeah, this is just something, we've been in practice for a decade and have learned a lot. So we've put some of our heart into some of these ways too. So like I said, this is what we personally do at home. So,
and I promise, I'm not just saying this, it has made a huge difference in our health, but maybe, I don't want to say more so in our kids' health. We have seen their health improve. We have seen their behaviors improve. And so it's just been like a game changer for everyone across the board.
So we're kind of over on time, but
we've got 7 minutes before I think the Zoom hangs up for us.
Yeah. So we kind of went a little over, but is there any questions?
Yeah, please just drop in,
jump off here.
Or any tidbits that you thought were interesting, or maybe something that you learned, but we just like to have that feedback from you guys. As you're kind of thinking about that. I would say final thoughts are, take one thing that you learned from our 5 steps tonight and apply it tomorrow. Make a plan tonight to apply it tomorrow, and go ahead and get booked on that discovery call, because like we said, all that's going to cost you is 30 minutes of your time. And so if it's not right for you, it's not right for you, but you'll never know until you try. And if everything that you've done up until now doesn't work, maybe it's time to try something different.
All right, guys. Well,
no questions. You guys are quiet.
We
were chatty at the beginning, but maybe we took it all out of you from how chatty we just were for the last hour. Okay. If there's no questions, you guys, we are very happy to have had you all on this talk.
Yeah, thanks for coming, you guys.
Yeah, it's a really exciting topic because of how in our face weight loss is right now, and especially like weight loss injections and drugs are. And so I know that is something that a lot of people have questions about. So please, if this was helpful to you, feel free to share that replay link that we're going to email out to someone who maybe has been talking about Ozempic or has been asking some of the questions that maybe we touched on in this. We're not like trying to hoard this. If you have someone that's going to benefit from this replay, please forward that along to them.
Please do.
Yes. Okay. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Go get some good sleep tonight. Don't snack. All right. And we will just be talking with you guys at some point.
Yeah, guys.
Goodbye.
Have a great day.